Hey everybody, it's Dr. Dave, and I wanted to share a thought with you today about making it about Jesus. I'm over here at a park on a sound and just reflecting on some truth from Acts chapter 24 and 25 with the Apostle Paul. And what we find there, Christian friends, is that Paul, despite being accused of some things falsely by a high-powered attorney and some of, not all the Jews, but some of the elite temple Jews, the Sadducees in Jerusalem, of some things, he's defending himself. And Paul's not eloquent with words, but he is a good writer. He has a good defense. As he's defending himself, we find that Paul, several times, different instances, actually will point to Jesus. He's on trial, his life's on the stake, his freedom's there on the line, and yet he points to Jesus. And it's a great model for you and for me to think about, why are we doing everything we do? What is your purpose in life? And Paul shows us that it's about Jesus. He points to the Lord is risen from the dead, the resurrection. And so they want to talk about Paul. Paul instead says, hey, I'm on trial for the resurrection from the dead. And that was compelling to them for a couple of reasons. They're within a few decades of the cross at Calvary and the resurrection of Jesus from the dead. So it was news people were aware of historically, but also after Jesus rises from the dead, their tombs are open, they come to life again in Jerusalem. So that was known, that this was not just an ordinary teacher, just some local rabbi, Jesus. But Paul is out there preaching the resurrection, and he knows the Sadducees don't believe in that. And so when he's on trial because of Sadducees attacking him through a high-powered attorney that they got off a billboard in the ancient world on some building, Tertullus his name, basically he says, I'm on trial for the resurrection, which is kind of a little song and dance in front of them because they reject the resurrection, the supernatural, the Sadducees who ran the temple, most of them. And the Sadducees, who are in other towns, believe in the resurrection. And Paul says, I'm a Sadducee, not a Sadducee, I'm like a Pharisee, I'm a true Jew of his era. I believe that there is an actual bodily resurrection from the dead, which forces the conversation to what? To Jesus. And so it makes it all about him and not about Paul. Now, something else to consider when you make it all about Jesus, you are realizing that God is still a God of justice, that things that you experience and suffer, they still do matter. And one of the ways we can reflect on that is when Luke shares the story of Felix and Drusilla, his wife, who's Jewish, and he's a Greek freedman. There's a result of what happens in that time period. People would have known of it. And Luke mentions that Drusilla and Felix hear the gospel from Paul but reject it. The word is heard but not combined with faith. So they have an opportunity to believe and they do not. Well, they also abuse Paul by not standing up for him, not sticking up for him, letting injustice happen in the Roman civic center that they're in charge of and that Felix runs. And they're in the palace at Caesarea. And as they do that, they're kind of piling up their sins. Eventually, Drusilla and Felix are separated. Felix is deposed for his own barbarity and cruelty to some of the local Jews in a certain sect, and it gets back to Rome through a delegation against him. And he gets dishonored, deposed, removed. And Drusilla, for her sake, years later ends up in Pompeii, a place of great sin, far worse than anything you can imagine in a city in the United States or the world. Just massive celebration of immorality there. She ends up living there with her only child, and eventually she is destroyed in that pyroclastic flow at the Pompeii eruption, and that was 100,000 times more strong in energy, at least, than Hiroshima. And so there is a accounting of the wrongs done in your life. So even though you're making it all about Jesus, it does not mean there is not justice too. So keep that in mind. Be encouraged that God sees. He doesn't ignore you. Situations, your calling is just to be faithful, making it all about Jesus. And that's such a wonderful reminder for you and I in our lives. And I just challenge you to think through your own example, how you could make it about him and not about yourself. Hope that blesses you. Have a good day.